Hi, my name is Brian, and this is Learning to Draw from the Very Start. This video series is designed to teach the beginner that wants to learn how to draw but couldn't find that right teacher, book, or video. This series will teach you step by step the easiest way possible to draw. So get your pencil and paper and let's get drawing. Hi, and welcome to this video on drawing anything and everything. First of all, let's start out with the definition of drawing. And this is my definition. This is not what you'd find in Webster's dictionary. My definition of drawing is to be able to create a shape or putting shapes together to make a recognizable picture. Let's just say I did this, and 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 then that, and then that, and then that. And you would recognize that as a flower. I mean, it's not a flower, but it is an image of a flower. And all I did was take these oval shapes and I put them together to make a flower. So a lot of people would say, oh, I can't do that. But I truly believe everybody has the ability to draw, because if you can do this, then you have the ability to draw, because a letter is just a shape. Now, if you took these letters and you turn them around somehow, some way, like let's say I'll take the D and maybe the E and maybe another D and flip it upside down, and two circles, and maybe the B and do the B again and another circle, I'd have some kind of little B. You know, and that's just what drawing is just taking a bunch of shapes and putting them together to make something recognizable. But a lot of times people say that they can't draw because maybe in their early childhood, or maybe you might be young still, you may have scribbled across the wall and your parents, scolded you about doing that drawing on the wall, so you never drew again. Or maybe you drew something in school and people said it was ugly, and that hurt your feelings, so you never drew again. Or maybe you drew something and somebody else drew something else and they called your picture ugly compared to the other guys. So again, you decided not to draw. Maybe your parents said, there's no money into drawing, or maybe they pushed you into something else. So you really never learned how to draw. But as I say, if you have the ability to do this, then you have the ability to draw. And a good drawing from a okay drawing is just the amount of detail that you put into a drawing. This is not a bad drawing. This is more recognizable. And if I add more detail to it, it becomes even better. But you can take this and still do something, with this drawing. So you can't say, oh, I'm not a good drawer. It's just how much detail do you want to put into your drawing? It can be fixed up. And drawing, to me, is like a puzzle. If I give you a 10-piece puzzle to put together, you might not be able to put it together right away. It might take you like 5 or so minutes to put it together. But, once you put it together so many times, it'll probably only take you 30 or so seconds to put it together. And it's just, drawing is the same thing. So if you had this puzzle and this puzzle had some kind of picture on it, you wouldn't really know what it was until you put it all together. And that's all drawing is, knowing what shape goes where to make that image recognizable. So let's get into this now. Let's get right into this. I have some things on my desk, reference things on my desk that I want to use. And where did it go? I had it for 1 second. Hold tight. Okay, now let's get into this. Whenever you look at the world, I want you to see it in 3 shapes: triangle, circle, and a square. That's basically what everything is pretty much made of, and it might be twisted around a little bit, but it's just these 3 shapes. So once you learn how to draw these 3 shapes and you can turn them into more of a three-dimensional image, then the rest is pretty much easy. Your square becomes a cube, or that can become a rectangle. Your circle will become a cylinder. Basically, that's about pretty much all you can make out of it, or a dish, when you flatten it. And your triangle, the poor triangle, doesn't become much, but a pyramid, there are a couple other shapes that you can make out of it. But when you look around, everything is like that. Like, for instance, if you look out your window, let's just take your window, for instance. Your window is a rectangle and 4 squares. A table. If you look at the table from the top, it's just, a square. But once you learn to manipulate it and put it into perspective, then you can draw that. And you can see a little bit of that leg, depending on how long the legs are. And with the circle, put a couple plates and a cup on top of it. And it's just your basic shapes. Just your circle, triangle, and square. Just manipulate it. But people see stuff and they say, oh, that's too hard to draw. But it's simple. Once you take your basic shape of it, like this Carmex is, what is this stuff? Like lip balm, Vaseline. Let's just say you were going to draw this. The first thing I see in this is that rectangle shape. Like so. And the top is just a dome shape or half a circle. Put it on top like so. Now down the bottom, you have another little piece of rectangle like this. And then you have your basic shape. Now, realistically, looking close, this is more angled, almost like the triangle. And that comes in like so. Now, detail in your cap, you probably can't see this, but there are little groove lines in your cap to hold on to when you twist it off. Now at the bottom, there are grooves here too. And then you have your basic shape down already. And that took every bit of a few seconds. Now, if you want to put more detail in, then you do things like your barcode. And then these lines with directions on it. I don't know why you would have to put directions on a lip balm. It's just Vaseline. And then if you want to go crazy, you put, your words on there. But that's, Photoshop is a wonderful thing. Once you draw it, you can put it in Photoshop and type the words in if need be. So, drawing is simple. Just you look at something at its basic shape and then draw from there. So, for instance, here is pencil sharpener. And again, I would look at it as basically a square, just to start it out. Its basic shape is a square. Now it curves at the top now from that square. And then this gray part comes in and around like so. Now this is curved, kind of almost like an egg. And then you have the lines that come in like this as well. And at the top, from my angle, you can't see it anyway. The point, the holes that the pencil goes into. And then there's something inside. And then, if you wanted to get crazy, there's another line in here. And that, like I said, then you're working on, how much detail do you really want to put into your drawing? And then there's shading, cross hatching, but that's a totally another video for another time. But if you stop looking at the detail of things and then just take it as it is from its shape, its basic shape, and then you knock off some of your rough edges, like this one, it was, we started out as a square. So we just knocked off this edge and turned it into almost an egg shape. Let's take something else. Like if you look around the house, in front of me, And I won't say what this is, but I'm sure you probably know what it is by now. It is a laptop, and it's just a bunch of squares. That's a crappy looking laptop, but it's just a bunch of squares. And then you can put a picture in there. You put your mountains and, your sunrise or sunset, your clouds, and all it is just looking at it in its basics. It is basics. It's very basic shape. Then you chop it up, add your rounded off, around your edges off, put your extra lines in there well, what is that called? I don't know, but you put your extra lines in there and you keep going. And it's basically simple. Once you learn to manipulate and turn these three shapes around, then there's nothing you can't draw. I'm trying to think of something else. Let me look around my room. Let's just say my drawing table light, which is just it's just that just sorry, choked up here. Cylinder, or almost a circle cylinder. On the top is just a round cylinder button. There is a little cylinder, I don't know what you call that. It's an arm that holds the thing together. There's a little piece of triangle or triangle metal, and two two arms. Why am I choking up? And this is where your detail comes in, your screws and so forth. And even the light itself, well, let me get some more detail. And these are just cylinders around it. And then your light bulb, if you could see through it, your light bulb would just be a circle that goes into it, like so. That's if you could see through it. But it's all shapes. Just drawing the shapes. And let me take that light bulb out because it just throws the whole thing off. Yeah. And then, as I said, your detail, your amount of detail, your ability to see or draw detail. But as I said, that's a whole new video for that. So the hardest part would be the easiest part, and that is just taking your shapes and then, doing them in any angle that you can think of, doing them. And this is just something that you can do, all day, while you're eating dinner, or, riding the bus, or waiting in a line, not waiting in line, but waiting, let's say if you have go someplace where you have to sit down and wait, and this is the same thing as that. I said doctor's office or something like that, a visit. You just take your shapes, and any of these shapes can turn into anything that is square, and most of the stuff that we have around our house is square. This, you can lengthen that right there, and that can be like a building, a skyscraper. You have another one in the background somewhere back here, shorter one back here. And, before long, you've just drawn your city, and it's just, using rectangles. What that is a small building, and then you have, again, your clouds, if you want to get crazy, some streets that run this way and that way. But it's very simple. You might say, wow, that, the guy could draw, that was quick, but it's just looking at the shapes, and then you add extra to it later. The same way with the circle. Cylinder circle starts out as a circle, and with some shading, you can turn it into a ball. A cylinder, and this cylinder could be, let me make that just a little longer. This cylinder could turn out to be a pencil. And it could be your eraser back here. And it's just putting the puzzle together, like these lines. Your pencil, some pencils are not round. They have their what is it, that octagon shape. So it's just knowing the pieces of the puzzle. It could turn out to be, let's say, a cigarette. And I don't smoke, so I don't really know the detail of cigarettes, but this could be your ashes. What else? What else? What else? What else did I have in mind? Ink pen. Let's just turn that into a pen. Cigarette pen. Kind of looks like a thermos. That too. But there is no end to drawing anything and everything as long as you know the shapes. And some pens have the button here and some pens have the button there. But it's so very simple. So with the circles, you would, let's say, your circle, and as you turn it, you go on left and right, up and down. It just every angle that you can think of. And this is more getting to perspective, and I did a video on doing perspective that I would say check out, because that really helps you, in a number of ways, because this is all basically going back in perspective except for this one here. What else? What else? What else? Let's get into it some more. Let's say, a car tire. Simple. Car tire. You have your rim. You have your piece in the middle, whatever that is, it holds the rim, and you can have your fancy rims. Second thing, so if you put it on a car, I'll just draw a rough car, and you notice that the car itself is just a rectangle. And as I said, it's just putting some more detail to it. And then you have your wheels. And add detail, you have your bumper, your lights, you could be square or round, depending on what year car it is, your grill, your hood, your trunk, and it could be a two-door. Trim on the side, and this is the puzzle again. This is just putting the puzzle together, those extra pieces, to make a picture recognizable. I'm going to tint the glass because I don't feel like drawing inside the glass. And then it's driving down the highway, and it's a two-lane highway, and you could draw another car going in the opposite direction. And again, this is quick and rough. I'm not trying to show detail. I just want to show you how simple it is to draw. And this is not an award-winning picture. No, it is not, but it's recognizable. And a lot of people would say, and I've known some really good artists that draw some stuff that's good to me, but to them, they don't like it, and they end up trying to trash the picture. And I've stopped a few of my friends from throwing stuff away because it didn't look good to them. Rear lights. But yeah, it's simple. Just take any object, look at it. I'm trying to find another object. A mouse. This mouse. You take any object, you look at it, and you break it down to its basic shape. I wouldn't worry about the curve. If I drew this, I wouldn't worry about the curve right off the bat. I would just draw another rectangle. Round it off at the top, round it off at the bottom. Then bring my curve in. So then you want to go for detail. You have your two lines that come straight down, come out, down, in, and out, down, in, and out. Your button, and then you have your right and left click. Then the mouse tail. So erasing, and an eraser is your friend. I love the eraser, it is your friend. So then you curve it around like so. And you have a top of the mouse. And if you wanted to draw the side of the mouse, same thing. I would break it down. My angle and your angle of seeing this mouse might be different. So I do flat. There's a square. I know this is higher here and lower here. So take it higher here and lower here. Like so. There's a button here. The line, there's what's this other line that curves up, comes around like so, and then your right and left click. Then your mouse tail. Erase this. And then you can go back and ink something if you really, really wanted to do it, you know, to make it look professional. Look at that again. So this has a bit of a point to it. Like that is your left click button. And like that. Around. I'll put it down now. Like so. And your button, and some of the buttons have grooves. This one doesn't have a groove, but I just put the grooves on there. And then you have a mouse. And that took how many seconds? Because I didn't try to start out drawing the detail slow. And I know a lot of beginner artists will try to do this instead of taking the overall shape. They'll try to go slow. And then when they get on the other side, it's messed up. And then they get frustrated because they didn't do it right. But it's just easier to draw whatever shape it is. And I could take a million things and just draw from the shape. You know, this is a little boot. This is an old G.I. Joe boot that my son had from one of his G.I. Joe. You know, and looking at this shape, you know, let's just say, let's break it down into two pieces. You have that. And you have this triangle. And I did a drawing on, you know, drawing the figure and drawing the foot. And that's all that is. If you cut that off, you would just have that rectangle. And if you cut that off, you almost have a triangle. So you can put that triangle there and then round it off. I'm not going to sit here and draw this entire boot, but I just want to show you the shape. And then you can put the heel here. And then you come back and you can do your detail on your boot, you know. And I said I wasn't going to draw this whole thing, but I kind of am. Make that a little bigger. Size 12. Curve that out and up. But there you have it. It is so simple. So let's do the poor triangle and get him out the way before we wrap this up. So the triangle is not much you can make out of a triangle in life unless you turn it around and start to manipulate it, because the days of the pyramid, you know, are over. So, you know, and I think when man started doing construction, he used shapes that will be, you know, load bearers, as in something that can hold a lot of weight. Like if you take a bridge, for instance, and I draw, you know, some kind of bridge, you know, the girders or the poles that hold the bridge up, and there's your bottom of your bridge, and then you have your cars running across it. These shapes would either be, you know, rectangular poles or square poles, because they hold a lot more weight than, you know, a triangle. Triangle just takes up a lot of space, so you don't really have a lot of structures anymore, you know, that are made shaped from triangles. So, you know, mostly cylinders and squares. That way, you know, once you master those two shapes, you know, then life is simple to draw for you. Because as I say, if you look around, you know, everything is basically a circle or a square. Now the triangle, you have a few things that are actually triangles, such as, and it'll end up being a cylinder on the top. You know, this, which could be, you know, ice cream cone. But then you have your little squares inside to give it that cone cone effect. Um, Maybe a lampshade, but let's just say you just do this. You just cut the top of it off, and then you put your actual lamp underneath of it. But there's not too many things that are made of triangles. You can look around and see things that might start out, as a triangle, and then end up, being changed somehow. And I don't even know what that is. It could be one of those blowhorns that you use at a football game or a basketball game. But a lava lamp, I don't know what a lava lamp is. I don't have one. I don't know what a lava lamp actually looks like because I don't have one. But as I say, the triangle itself is just a little poor little guy who's kind of like dying off. So and I'll step back, if you do decide to draw, if you are a beginner artist and you start to draw and people start to say, oh, that doesn't look good, it's ugly or whatever. There was a guy that said I think I read it in a book, and he was saying if you look at a house that's still under construction, you don't look at that house as being, ugly or tore up. You look at it and say, oh, it's not finished yet. I'll bet it'll be beautiful, in a year or so, or whenever it's finished. And that's the same thing with your art. When somebody said, oh, that doesn't look right, you say, well, come back to me in a year or so once I finish my training. So then, don't worry about what people say about it doesn't look right. Say, look, I'm still practicing. Same way if you get somebody that rides a skateboard. If you give him a skateboard that first day, no, he's not going to go down some banisters and be able to do those trick jumps and so forth. But with continuous practice, oh yeah, he'll be able to do that in about a year or so, maybe less. But it's much harder to get up off the ground from falling on a skateboard than it is to take a piece of paper with a bad drawing and just throw it away and then start again. So drawing is simple. It's just looking at the shapes, the basic shapes. And a good exercise to do is just to say, like, take a square and put a circle on it, and then a line, and then another square onto that, and then another circle and a line, and you just kind of keep doing these kind of things to give you practice. And it could be like I don't know what you call those little puzzles or shapes, and then you just do a lot of shapes, circle, and you can just keep going with something like this. And the reason I put the little circle is just to connect the little cylinder arm, and just whatever shape you can think of doing, and just keep going from there until you get used to just doing shapes. And just try to think about how something would be turned in a different way, and then just go ahead and turn it. Poor triangle, he's just out there in the cold somewhere. And it's a good exercise. You can fill up your paper with that, and after a while, by doing something like that, you'll be able to just see any shape and draw. And if you have like things around the house, like the dice, or would that be a die if it's just one? You can just turn it, in any direction that you can see, and then start drawing, from that angle. You don't have to put the circles in there. You can, because it helps when turning or drawing an oval in different directions and turning it like that. It's just doing a cylinder like that. That's all it is. It's the front of one of these cylinders, and the same way if you have a coin, and I don't have a coin with me because I'm broke, You do the top, and then you start turning it and turning it and then turning it until it's flat, like so. And then that helps you to do ovals. And this would be, I don't know who's on the quarter. I guess he's got a beard, but yeah, that's him right there. That's your 25 cents. Like this. So as I say, just get a coin. I think everybody's got a coin, a penny. You find a penny around the house, and then just look at it and draw it and start turning it as you draw it. Now triangles, yeah, good luck finding a triangle or something around the house, but it's simple. An ink pen. Get an ink pen and draw a pencil. Draw it from the side, and then start to turn it. Just a little bit. And turn it a little bit more, and turn it a little bit more until you don't see anything but the very front. And these exercises help you. Don't worry about detail or anything in there. Just do your basic shapes, and then I guarantee you, after a while, you'll have it down, and you'll start drawing anything and everything. So I hope this video actually helped you guys. If it did, leave a comment, give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and if you want me to do more videos, let me know, and I will continue to do more videos. And if you say, please don't do any more videos, I'll continue to do more videos, because there's a lot of stuff that I want to teach beginners, because I never had the teacher that helped me when I was young. Most of this was learned by myself, and trying to find books and other people that helped me. But my background was in comics. I love to do comics, so this is where I learned to draw. But back in the 60s and 70s, there were no kind of comic book schools, to learn from, and they didn't have books on how to do, the superhero figure. So basically, I had to learn for myself, and that's a poor, weak figure, but this is just a cylinder. That's just a cylinder. This is an oval. This could be a upside down house, actually, as I call it, because I did a video on doing anatomy. Everybody draws a house, and that's all that is. And these are cylinders. This is an oval, and this is a little rectangle. So even drawing anatomy, it's just shape. So I'll draw all day if I could, but I want to keep this video short. So I thank you for watching, and look out for my next videos.